This week, we got a whole lot more Switch 2 details to discuss and unpack. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who, after seeing more of Mario Kart World, he's saying that he's willing to pay $200 for this game. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, what an egregious claim. Are you sure?
All about longevity.
Listen, Doug Bowser's keeping the door open. That's all.
Well,
he's not saying
for nothing, but
he's not saying video game prices will get to $200. He's saying they could. They could.
Yeah,
you know,
it could. And you're not going to see anybody buying them.
Well,
I say that, but also,
my brother in Christ.
5 years ago, people were paying $200 for Nintendo games that were 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm. I just bought Chrono Trigger like 3 years ago for probably $200.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Granted, Chrono Trigger, not a new game, but that is neither here nor there. Before we get into all of the Switch 2 stuff, which there's a good bit to talk about, why don't you tell me about your week playing games? What'd you get into?
I had a little bit of disappointment.
Oh.
So I messaged you, I think on Thursday or Friday, saying that I forgot that South of Midnight came out like that day. It did not.
Oh, you just out. You preloaded it?
I preloaded it, and I knew I wasn't gonna have time to play it because I had to travel last weekend. But I came back on Sunday and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go start South of Midnight, and it said you're a little too early, as it does on Xbox. Turns out it came out Monday. I guess they were saying the release date was whatever it was, the Thursday or Friday, because if you buy the Ultimate Edition, you can play it early.
Oh.
I'm like, that's some shit. Don't make that the release date, then.
Yeah. Knock it off. Stop that.
Yeah.
That's always interesting. That's always interesting when like a single player game does that. Like, what's the for? I did it for Baldur's Gate, to be clear, but it's like, what's the point of that?
I did it for Forza Horizon 5.
Did you do it for Starfield too?
I don't know.
Why do I feel like?
I feel like I did too.
Yeah, why do I feel like it was like a $10 upgrade, and you were like, why not?
Boy, was I foolish.
Why not? I'll tell you why not. I think maybe not. Maybe not.
It was either that or it was like just earlier for Game Pass Ultimate members.
Maybe. But yeah, I'm thinking back to Baldur's Gate 3, and don't get me wrong, I loved the decision because I definitely put like 50 hours into it in that first 4 days alone, probably.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think I received any other benefit outside of just getting to play a game 4 days early.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I look at games and they're like, get the Ultimate Edition. You can play it a couple of days early. I was like, okay, well, like if it's a game I'm really excited for, like what else does it come with?
Yeah.
And it's usually like digital art book. Okay. No future content.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what my unk brain is so broken to. Like, as the kids would say, when like PS3 era, if you pre-ordered a game, you would at least get like a DLC pack for free.
Yep.
And now it's like digital art book that no one knows how to open. Like, where is it? Where does it go?
Yeah.
Do I open it on my Xbox? Do I get it on my phone?
Where does it go?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've never found it.
Interesting.
That's the whole thing. We need to do an investigative series, I guess.
All right. We can do that. Let's get to the bottom of this.
You want to send me a physical art book? Okay, now we're talking.
Uh-oh. Yeah. A little coffee table book? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I like looking, dignified, I'm a man of culture. I have books on my coffee table.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, is that a thin layer of dust? You better believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Those books aren't for reading. I don't read. Yeah, you're right. PS3 era was kind of that golden age of pre-order benefit, or like yeah, because even then it wasn't like you were paying extra necessarily. You were still getting the $60 game. You just were putting the dollars down ahead of time, and then if you wanted to cancel that ahead of time, you had to confirm 30,000 times. But that might have just been my experience.
No, I don't think you were alone in that battle.
But yeah, you'd either get like a full on DLC pack. You'd get maybe like a specific gun available to you right at the beginning. Some games still do that, but it's definitely less, it feels like. So you didn't get to play South of Midnight.
No, I didn't know. I just got pissed off about pre-orders. I didn't get to play South of Midnight. We played a bit more Split Fiction.
Nice.
That may have been it. I'm trying to figure out. So I have obviously Super Mario Sunshine to play, which I'm not going to procrastinate on. He says with his fingers crossed.
Please.
So
please.
So I'm trying to figure out what I want to play like in tandem with that. And it probably South of Midnight, but also it should probably be Ghost of Tsushima, because I'm like not an insignificant way into that. And like I still remember what happened in the story. I'm not going to remember what the controls are, but I feel like I should probably jump back into that and just go 10 toes in with that.
Yeah.
And then, but I've also got Indiana Jones, which I've been wanting to play forever.
My goodness.
But I was just so hypnotized by Madden for the past 3 months. Sorry, the 3 months like before April.
Yeah.
So I have that. I also have Star Wars Outlaws, which I'm pretty far into, and then just stopped playing.
Sensing a theme.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't worry about Super Mario Sunshine. Maybe you should get your current affairs in order.
Well, there is no getting my current affairs in order. Because if we go back further than that,
yeah, there's always something else.
Or Starfield, which I'm quite far into. There's probably a bunch of shit. But yeah, I don't know.
It's as soon as you start peeling back, you start to see, there's more and more and more and more, and the line just continues. There's no end to it. There's always something that was started and put down, and hey, and that's life.
That's life.
Well, I'm happy you bring up Super Mario Sunshine, and I'm happy to report back, because I said I would have an update regarding Red Dead, because I too said that I was not going to procrastinate, and I'm happy to report that I have not started it.
Yay! You said you were going to. You promised you're going to have an update this week.
Well, I said I was going to have an update, and my update is that I haven't started it. That's a good update.
Oh, okay. Okay. I guess, I made assumptions, so it's... We need to normalize this just every week.
Yeah.
We need to say whether or not we started it.
Right. I'm also happy to report back, while I did not start Red Dead, I did play a fuck ton of MLB The Show. So
at least, that's what men are made of.
Yeah, at least, one loss was converted into multiple wins. I mean, just
Yeah.
hours upon hours upon hours that could have been put into Red Dead. But, I mean, maybe I could have been done by now. Who's to say? But
It very well could be.
no, I am excited to start it, and I mean, honestly, like MLB came out at a really bad time for how badly I procrastinated on Luigi's Mansion, but I think like it's gonna be perfect because I'm a monster. I have two TVs in my living room, so you
Yeah.
better
Oh.
believe Red Dead Redemption's going up on the one, MLB is gonna be up on the other, and like because Red Dead's gonna have some god awful loading screens,
Oh yeah.
like
That's
PS3
fair.
era game, and it was pushing the limits. I've probably told this story before, and it's like a little unrelated, but Shelby and I played through the entirety of Skyrim together. Like it was one of the first games that, like, for the most part, I was playing and doing a lot of the actual controlling, but Shelby was making a lot of the decisions, saying where to go, saying what to do, and stuff like that. And it was like one of the first like shared gaming experiences that we had. And when we first started it, when she first said she like really was interested in Skyrim and like wanted to watch it and everything, um, I had it for PS3, and I was like, cool, I'll put it on the PS3. I would fall asleep because of how long the loading times were. Like if we were playing late at night, I would pass out because of how long the loading times were. Insane to think about. Insane to think that I was ever that much of a tired little baby in my life. And also just insane that loading screens were that long that they could lose me.
It's amazing, to think about that era. Maybe we need to do a reminiscing episode one day. One, like, I try to think back and think, oh, what what games did I play that was like that?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just it's so hard because back then it was just it's just how it was.
Yeah.
Unless you play a Nintendo game, then I'm like frequently impressed that it's just like this game just goes.
Yeah.
Like Luigi's Mansion. Really, really no loading screens. Just kind of log in and get going.
Yeah.
Um and then I think about like Metal Gear Solid 4. And there weren't load screens, but there were 2-hour cutscenes.
Yeah, there were movies. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Definitely crazy.
Yeah.
So I know that's going to be the case with Red Dead. I know the load screens are going to be long, and yeah. So I'm going to be I'll I'll do a mission in Red Dead, and then I'll treat myself to a quick little 3 inning Diamond Dynasty game in MLB The Show. And then I'll play a little bit more of Red Dead. I'll do that, and it's kind of the perfect little little treat mechanism. The problem is I don't know if you've seen these posts online where people were trying to figure out, this is like a big problem that people who have ADD, right, like is like being able to focus on and do a task, and they were trying to say like what are some of the like the game breaking things that people do to like get them to actually complete the things and stuff like that. And people will say like, oh, if you study for an hour, you just treat yourself. And somebody was like, the problem is I have free will. And so I know there are cookies in the cabinet. I'm just going to go eat the fucking cookies if I want to eat the cookies. And I was like, damn, that is kind of my biggest problem in like life and like trying to like keep myself on task with things. Not saying that I have ADD. I'm not trying to like online Twitter doctor myself or anything like that. But like I have that problem.
That's bold of a millennial.
But I do have that problem of like, how do I just get myself to just man up and do a fucking task? Like be an adult, do the dishes, and the whole like do a little treat or something like that does not fucking work for me. Like
no,
the treat is right over there. I'm just gonna go fucking do it, eat it, whatever, right? Like whatever the thing I'm trying to convince myself is my reward. It's like I'm just gonna go pick it up because I'm an adult with free will. But yeah, we'll see how it works for microdosing Red Dead and MLB at the same time. Um, what else? Oh, and Shelby and I played a little bit more of Ocarina. So
Oh yeah.
still making progress there. But yeah, that's it for me. So let's talk Switch 2, shall we?
We shall.
What do we want to start with first? There's quite a bit to unpack here. I'd say.
Yeah.
Let's see. Should we start with the fact that pre-orders got delayed?
Yeah, let's just start there. That seems like it's the biggest news, and seeing as that's today
Yeah.
recording that.
Yeah. So we're recording this on the 9th. We normally record on Wednesdays. Today was supposed to be. This was announced, during the direct or right after it, I guess, probably. That you'd be able to start pre-ordering from retailers like Best Buy, Target, Walmart, all that, starting on today as we're recording the 9th. Interestingly enough, I noticed when you and I were talking about the whole like sign up thing that seems to be a way of curtailing bots and stuff. That was saying that you wouldn't receive your email regarding your placement or your opportunity to pre-order until, was it May 18th or something like that, or
Yeah,
May
it was
May 8th, or it was in May,
yeah.
to just flat out say, which I thought was kind of interesting. Uh, but yeah, they've made the decision to delay pre-orders. They're also it's not only in the U.S. They did also delay pre-orders. I saw for Canada as well, and a lot of it is basically in an effort to kind of wait out what exactly is going to happen in regards to the tariffs um, that are being lobbed around.
I think, and I kind of learned something this week too, which I thought was interesting. Um, I think we saw the tariffs between the United States and Japan as being the primary issue. Um, I think I was reading, I think it was a Jason Schreier report about it. Um, and really, it's more of an issue with China and Taiwan. Taiwan or Vietnam, or maybe it was Vietnam. Regardless, the tariffs with Japan have almost nothing to do with this, which is kind of worst case scenario.
Yeah, it's like basically the parts that end up getting used, right?
Well, they're going to be completely manufactured in China, and
Yeah,
I want to say it's Taiwan.
I think you're right.
That would make more sense in Vietnam.
But why did I think there were specific? But yeah, regardless.
Vietnam. It was Vietnam. Um, but it's primarily in China, which that's an issue.
Yeah, which it wasn't
I
isn't the levied tariff there 104%?
yeah, yep. As of this morning, it's 104%.
I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah. Um, I mean that's obviously bad in the short term. I'd be interested to see. I mean, we know Japan and the U.S. have already started talks with this, and I'm sure it's solely because of the Nintendo Switch. Um, that's why they need to get to a deal fast because it's not good for anybody if gamers don't get their console on time and under budget.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know the status with Vietnam, but as I was googling it, trying to confirm what country it was, it does sound like Nintendo is thinking about shifting a lot of their manufacturing to Vietnam because I think they're a lot closer to a trade deal with the United States. Um, I don't think China will. I think this China issue is going to implode, but
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see like what, not to get geopolitical with this, but if this whole us buying everything from China blows up, kind of where other countries will ship things to get manufactured. Specifically Japan, I guess. I feel
Yeah.
like they're probably our biggest trade partner over there.
Um, I mean, I think I just saw something that Apple is going to move production out of China.
No, they said they're going to put iPhones in commercial planes and
They
fly them
did
home.
do that, but also they're moving production out of out of China, and they're going to move it to India. I think is what I saw. Um, it's funny because yeah, the like little jab of like clearly the reason why talks are going to progress are because of video games. But it's really funny because I think a lot of people don't pay attention to things like this until it impacts their little niche hobby, and then suddenly it's like, well, now hang on a second, there might be a problem here. There might be. I didn't realize that this could be impacted by things.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so that's been my
I,
biggest learning lesson is that people don't understand the interconnectivity of everything, I guess.
yeah.
um,
Speaking of free will.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you have the free will to be aloof, I guess.
That's about it.
um,
Even that's hard.
but what's interesting is so again, like they're clearly delaying the whole pre-order, and I feel like they've said as much as it's because of the tariff stuff. But
Mhm.
what I find interesting is that nobody can land on whether or not the tariffs are going to actually impact the like go forward price. So we already know that the price is $450, and what people can't like land on is the $450. We talked about it last week, right? I brought up that um by doing like the whole like 1-to-1 comparison, in yen, it's like only 330 US dollars,
Mhm.
right? And like, uh, and so like you see this like disparity in price in other regions as well and stuff like that. And so it's like, well, was the $450 already a slightly beefed up price in an attempt to already adjust for what they believed, the whole like tariff levy was going to be? Or no, this is a $450 console. They know people will pay $450 for it because that's the other fascinating thing that we'll get into in a second. That like the the phenomenon, the sudden clarity that Nintendo had when it comes to price. So $450 was that, and now there is going to be like a substantial increase because of like whatever the tariff outcome becomes. So there's one camp that's like, no, it's gonna still just be $450, and it's like gonna come out in the wash, and they were already prepared for this. And the other camp's like, no. You thought $450 was expensive and bad. Like it's gonna get worse. And
Mhm.
it's really interesting that nobody has a clear through line on like what that is. My personal belief and thought process is if they're delaying it and not allowing you to do pre-orders, at that price, to me, that means they're at least at the very least open to that price changing. But
Yeah, my initial reaction is that the tariffs are built into the price, which is it sounds ludicrous to say because it's hard to make that decision within a couple of months.
right,
I don't know exactly when, um, after the election or even I guess before the United States election that Trump said this is how much we're going to tariff, Japan, China, and Vietnam. Uh, but that feels like a hard thing to do overnight once because this all happened very quick. I mean, I think
right.
the tariffs were like, yeah, we're doing this, and then the next day was the Switch presentation. I find it hard to believe that they said overnight, okay, let's jack the price up $50 or $100 or whatever it may have been. Um, but it just, with these pre-orders getting stalled, like you said, it does feel like they're at least considering it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So
I
like,
don't, I, I
so
don't really, I don't. Go ahead.
yeah, so I was gonna say, so let's see, this was on Polygon. Um, and let's see, I'm trying to figure out who said this exactly. Research firm DFC Intelligence CEO David Cole said that in the case of the Switch 2, we believe much of the 20%
You
increase.
are the father. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
20% increase was already baked into the $450 price. It's not likely that Nintendo will raise the price, and if they do, we don't expect it to be 20%. So again, kind of the
Yeah.
camp that you're in of like, you think that the price is baked in, but this could be them leaving the door open to an additional price increase. Doesn't necessarily mean that they will increase the price. Um, and then it says also much of that increase is in the form of not discounting prices. So not necessarily a price increase, but where we model a 20% price decrease in the next year or so. Instead of that, we have the prices holding steady. So instead of like,
Yeah.
that year over year, like, oh, we'll run a deal and stuff like that. Like that might be out the window for the next, who knows how long before they decide
I,
to run something like that.
that's not something I would have considered to be in the window, given how infrequently Nintendo discounted the Switch.
Um,
Like maybe once a year they did like a $50 decrease, but then it always went back up after that window. I
yeah,
mean, that's
yeah,
what that's what took us so long to get our Switch, because we're like, oh, we're just gonna wait
yep.
until they do the price decrease, and then we'll buy it, and that's what we did.
Yeah, it was probably halfway through the life cycle that they finally had like that consistent, like across the board.
Yeah,
It's now this new price. Um, but yeah, I mean it's interesting. And then again, like you see other camps that are basically like, uh, the Switch 2 is almost certainly headed for like a $500 price point. And
I think you're
again,
more likely that it's gonna get delayed.
you think it's more likely that the
That the
the
Switch will get delayed.
then it will hit a $500 price point.
Yeah. I mean, here's my issue with the whole news cycle right now, other than the fact that it's a news cycle. Um, I don't know what the sentiment is. I don't know if people are actually pissed off about the price, or if it's just, people gaslighting. So it's hard to say. Like, mostly what I see is people being really pissed off about the price. And there was somebody, I don't want to throw a name out there because I don't want to put false words into somebody's mouth, but I feel like somebody who was previously at Nintendo said that this was going to be like a PS3 moment for Nintendo.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we've had a lot of people, equate the Switch to the Wii U, and I think that is just so wrong. Like, I think the issue really is that, I mean, no matter what, like what price would people not complain about?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the end all issue, right? I think the flip side and the actual issue, I think, okay, hang on. I'm trying to think about how I want to word this. Basically, no matter what, people were going to complain about the price. The difference is that people are going to complain about the price and then they're just going to go ahead and buy it anyway, right? So that's the like no matter what state. That's just the guarantee. I think the actual issue that people are going to have is, okay, you said $450 and if that now increases suddenly, people are not going to like that, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's like, that's just an across the board, no matter what, because nobody likes to be told that something is $5 and then you go to pull out your wallet and the person goes, JK, it's $7.50. Like, it doesn't matter that I have $10 in my wallet and can still buy the thing. You just told me it's $5.
I think you just described a very common thing.
Anyway.
Sorry.
It's all, no, it's
my libertarian is showing.
Yeah. It's all it's all frustrating to keep up with, because there's genuine outrage, and then there's just surface level gamer outrage. And the surface, like, it's the problem that we talk about very often in just honestly the online sphere, is that, like, there is always a vocal minority that gets more power and credence than they actually have, right? And you can get boosted very easily online, and that's just kind of how things are. But again, it doesn't necessarily reflect the sentiment, and this is the next thing I want to talk about as it pertains to games and the whole pricing model of what they're doing with games. Because again, there's a lot of online outrage over a $70 price point, an $80 price point for Mario Kart. And I actually had somebody text me and say, I'm just gonna pull it up and read exactly what was said, because I found it very funny. Sorry. The only downside I'm really seeing is that games are going to cost $80. And my response was, I don't think all games are going to cost $80. And there's definitely some confusion around that. And he responded and said, I need to look into it. I've just never paid more than $70 for a base level physical game before. $80 is wild. And it's like, well, yeah, before you paid $70 for a game, you had never paid more than $60 for a game before, And like, that's just kind of how things go. And I get that it's like, it's a very quick jump all of a sudden. I found that to be, kind of funny. And like, people see the price of the games and they're just going to get mad no matter what. They're going to be mad unless the game is just given to them or is $10. But that's just not feasible. That's just not realistic. It's just not how things work.
You know what else doesn't seem realistic, but is also very much so the truth? And I didn't realize this until last week either, and I'm now just putting the pieces together and how all this relates.
Go ahead.
South of Midnight is $40.
Yep.
Or it's $15 a month if you look at it that way. I saw something online, and it was from, I think a journalist tweeted it, and it was just the screen capture of the head of Xbox when the Xbox One came out. I can't remember his name. And it just said, if you can't afford Xbox One, we've got a product for you. It's called the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
And somebody was alluding to that as the methodology that Nintendo is going for here too. Which I think that's. Sorry, I want to hear your opinions first before I speak mine.
I don't think that's really the case. So I think that was in response to Nintendo confirming that they plan to like keep the Switch viable, and like like they're going to keep producing units of it for some time. But
Mhm.
isn't that always the case with console generations? Don't you
I think,
always keep creating to some degree the previous console?
yeah,
Um,
of course.
you know what I mean? Until you keep producing games for it and stuff like that. I would expect the band-aid of games that are on Switch and Switch 2 to be ripped a lot quicker than this whole PS4, PS5, and Xbox One and Xbox Series nonsense. You know,
Mhm.
like we're again, how far in? We keep talking about it. Um,
Here is
I
the thing, though.
Go ahead.
Um, we we thought that the end of life cycle for the Switch has been incredible, right? Just
Banger.
the games that have come out, absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it was pretty much done. Anything that came out now was going to be Switch 2. But, we saw in the Switch Direct, like the original Switch is still getting the new Pokemon games. It's still getting the new Metroid game, which, I personally think is massive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what else? Was there another one? Even if not, you know, the value proposition of the Switch probably just gained at least another 2 to 3 years.
Sure. But I
But
guess where I net out is like what games were shown for that we got a first look for, um, and it was said like also coming to Switch.
yeah, but I share the same sentiment as you, as this is just regular crossover.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is something really Nintendo has quite done before. I guess they did it a lot with the Wii and the GameCube. You think Twilight Princess, I think,
Mm-hmm.
was the first like big Wii game, and that was still on
GameCube. Yep.
GameCube.
I
Uh,
I read this situation as we announced Legends, like, and we announced it, however long ago, so it's gonna still just come out on that generation. I would expect the next like Scarlet Violet, right? Like the whatever the next Pokemon game is that's not specifically Legends, I would expect to just be on Switch 2.
yeah, no,
Like
I
a
think that's
thousand
fair.
percent.
I don't think we're going to see many, if any, uh, more new games announced for the Switch. I think this
Right.
is just going to be enough for crossover, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Nintendo intends on keeping an actual development life cycle of 10 years for the Switch. When did the Switch come out? Was it 2015 or 2017?
2017.
Yeah, so almost 10 years. I think the final 2 years of games that have come out are enough to kind of get it to 10 years, and then I don't expect any more big games to come over.
Yeah. I think what a lot of like where a lot of the whole like price stuff comes into all this is it's not like I don't think Nintendo is saying like, well, don't be a broke boy and, just pay 450. It's just $450. Just pay $450. Nintendo is smart enough. And again, I kind of alluded to it a bit. I think they had an epiphany. And it's the fact that we can set a price and we know people will pay it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of it. You can call it corporate greed, you can call it being business savvy. It can have many different names. But
Supply and demand.
right, like, and I actually, in potentially a shocking turn of events, I actually don't know that I necessarily hate uh the general line of thinking as it pertains to this new concept, or I guess new execution of a concept in uh in what is being deemed as variable pricing for games. So when people criticize the whole $80 price point for Mario Kart World, Doug Bowser again, still just can't believe that Bowser runs Nintendo. It's
Nintendo of America.
too
Yeah.
perfect. He said, what you see right there is variable pricing. We'll look at each game, really look at the development that's gone into the game, the breadth and depth of the gameplay, if you will, the durability over time, and the repeatability of gameplay experiences. Those are all factors, and there's many more that go into consideration of what is the right price point for the games. So I think you can anticipate that there will be variable pricing, and we haven't set a benchmark.
Mm.
You
Yeah,
sorry, you nailed it. You hit the nail on the head last week when you said Mario Kart World is a game that you will play forever.
and I also want to give the credit to 1S Chris because he made that point to me first.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's make sure we give people the proper flowers. I rescind my flowers from you, and I will send them to Chris.
You can give me like one.
No, I will give you a petal, and you will like it.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
That's I thought, like, that's it exactly, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason why I'm actually okay if more people want to try and dip their toes into this whole variable pricing thing is another thing that you said earlier, which is this will course correct very quickly because they will hit a limit. Like, there's going to come a time where somebody is going to try and equate themselves to, let's just say the baseline of everybody says GTA 6 is going to be $100, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say GTA 6 is $100. There's going to come a time where somebody says, yeah, we're like GTA 6, and they're going to try and do that, and their world is going to come crashing down around them when people are very quickly not willing to pay $100 for their game that is not GTA 6. You know what I mean? Like, this is all going to have its own way of like working things out. And on one hand, it's going to suck because we're going to get bled a little bit for again, those instances where it's like, yeah, fuck, I am willing to I am willing to pay that price. But it's also going to start to cannibalize itself as well because you're going to get people who are going to be even more critical of where they spend their dollars, and people are already hyper aware of how and when and where and what and all of that already. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be this kind of like snake eating its own tail thing, and it's all gonna end up kind of course correcting itself out. I don't hate $80 for a game like Mario Kart World. I don't.
No.
I wish I did.
Yeah. I mean, again, you're going to play it for the whole life cycle. And here's the thing. We have to assume we're going to play it for the whole life cycle. We have to assume that there's going to be no other Mario Kart game
that would be
for the rest of the generation.
That would be the only thing that would piss me off.
Yeah. Now, at $80, yeah, it'd be frustrating. But if we're going to start saying, okay, at the beginning of a generation, there's going to be a new Mario Kart game, you're going to pay $300 for this Mario Kart game. Like, there needs to be the promise that this is going to be the only Mario Kart game and that there's going to be no paid DLC.
Yeah.
Or any DLC is included with the Switch Online.
Sure.
Like it is currently, with at least the certain tier. I think that's fine. I do have I have a couple competing thoughts about this, and we could probably do a whole episode on it at some point. So I won't try to drag this out too much, but I completely understand. Like I agree with variable pricing in this instance that GTA 6 they can pretty much charge whatever they want. Just people are going to buy it. You get a different game. I'm trying to think of like Madden, for example. Madden better be like $40 or $50. Like those annual games, like where the development life cycle is only a year, and it's just basically like building off of what you already have. Annual releases shouldn't be more than like $60 than like what they currently are.
Yeah.
just because we know the market's there for it. I think it should be less, but that won't happen.
Right.
I think there needs to be a ceiling. Like, there will never be a game more than $120. And I'm talking like, you know, you got to be like Kojima to charge a game like that.
Yeah.
But you need to know, like, somebody teases a game, okay, at most, I'm going to pay $120 for this. And again, that's really going to be like relegated to Kojima and Elder Scrolls games, things that, take damn near 10 years to develop.
Sure.
That I'm not too mad about. That I think is a good opportunity because, again, like, Kojima produces a game for 8 years and he still has to charge the same as Assassin's Creed, which comes out every year. That I don't think is quite fair. The biggest thing that concerns me about this is publishers are going to get even more control in the industry.
1,000%.
Because they're ultimately the ones that are going to decide the market. They're the ones that are going to be, the air quote, unbiased third party that are going to evaluate how many hours were put into a game, what it brings to the ecosystem, whatever.
At the end of the day, they're gonna turn around to the shareholders, and the shareholders are gonna just be pointing up, and they're gonna go $90, and the shareholders are gonna point up, and they're gonna go $100, and the shareholders are gonna be pointing up, and it's like because these people get dollar signs in their eyes,
yeah,
and they think about think about swimming in their gold like Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah. Publishers already have a lot of power, especially now as we've seen like publicly traded publishers over the last 15, 20 years.
Yep.
And I think it's going to hurt smaller game developers. And I'm, including indies in that, but I have this fear that publishers are going to run things even more than they already do. And if you're a game developer and you don't get a good publisher, then you're screwed. I mean, there's just no way into the market at that point.
Right. Again, like,
or if you're self-publishing, like, I don't know what you do in that instance. You don't. It's not the same entry anymore.
Right. Like I when I was saying about how like the market's going to figure itself out from like the consumer standpoint, that was kind of like this, the selfish end of it. Like, we'll be okay in the long run, right? Because we'll have the world come crashing down around them. And the people who are going to be hurt by that are the people who are actually working and making the games, who aren't making the decision to try and sell it for $90 when they know nobody's going to want to spend $90 for the game that they're making. But it's interesting that we already have variable pricing. It already exists. It already happens, right? Because not every indie game is $5. Not every indie game is $60. Indie games will end up anywhere in tiers between because, they
need to make money.
They know how to value their work. They know that like people have to take a chance on them. And how many $20 games have you played that are better than, you probably can't even count on, both your hands the number of $60 games that are beaten out by a $20 or $15 indie. I mean, Stardew Valley is like one of the greatest games I've ever played. Mm-hmm. It's $15.
I mean, Balatro is $10 in it, almost won game of the year.
Brother, go off.
We have a game on our Switch that was just one of those, like, I don't know how we found it. It was like $6 on the Nintendo store, and that's probably the game we've put the most hours into in the Switch. And every time we have friends over, like, we make them play that game. And everyone loves it. The amount of people who have gone home and bought it so they can play it when they have friends over, like.
All right, stop rubbing in that you have friends and those friends have friends. All right.
Well, I was going to then go into the point where, our friends have friends over and they played at their house, but we're never invited.
But we weren't invited.
Yeah. And they're probably like, look at this cool game we found.
And it's raining outside and you press your hand up against the window because even though you weren't invited, you still decided to show up. No, just me. All right. um. Yeah, I mean, it. At the end of the day, it's interesting how this is all going to shake out. It's definitely opening up, Pandora's box to a degree. You're going to see other people start to do this, and
Yeah.
it's gonna fail spectacularly in some ways, and in other ways, people are going to realize like, oh fuck, people will pay this for, they'll pay X amount for Y game, and yeah, it's like it's kind of always been the case to some degree. Like it's never necessarily needed to be confined, but yeah, it's interesting to see where it'll go from here. But to your point of like, yeah, you have to have some assurances that like things won't go past 120 or something like that. I think we're kind of in this like realm right now where it's like, well, shouldn't the assurance be that it won't go past $70? Like we just had this like whole price increase thing, and people are still wrapping their head around that. But the problem is that there are games that you're being charged $70 for that you shouldn't be charged $70 for, and it all the ball rolls from there, and so on and so forth.
There's a really good opportunity here for somebody who has the ability to make video games their career, and that's to start a website where every game that comes out, you do a value proposition for each game. Like Ubisoft tries to say that the new Assassin's Creed is worth $100. Okay, I'm gonna go in and say, what were the development hours? I don't know where if or where you would get this data.
Yeah.
How many development hours went into it? What was the payroll? What are the new features? What features were removed? What are what's the average rating for the game? And just like create a website that says like overweight or underweight on price. Somebody who has time to do that, please do that.
I think we should just go off of the value proposition of, do I get do I get an hour worth of gameplay out of
Yeah,
every dollar I spent?
the ultimate gaming metric.
Yeah, which does not work, to be clear. but I will say that if you like, for me, I put over 1,000 hours into MLB The Show, right? I don't think I should spend $1,000 on MLB The Show. Like I don't.
No,
it's not good. But if you pay $60 for a game and you get over 60 hours worth of gameplay out of it, I certainly think that is good, right? But I don't think that if you pay $60 for a game and only get 40 hours, that's inherently bad. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's not the perfect metric, but it is something to consider. I did watch a little bit. I know we're gonna get a whole Mario Kart World direct in like a week or so, and so I don't need to necessarily talk a ton about it, but I did watch one of the like Nintendo Treehouse Live things, and it was about 20 minutes. They spent 15 of it doing like one Grand Prix run, and then they went into like the whole free roam mode for a little bit. And dude, I can't believe it. I'm like utterly shocked at everything I was seeing. So I was goofing a little bit at the beginning when I said about spending $200 on this game, but like this game's, it's definitely going to be worth it from everything I'm seeing right now. And I'm really excited for the direct because I can only imagine, what all they're going to show. They had like 5 or 6 pages of characters, and they were only showing the first page. And I think there were 20 or 25 characters on that page alone. And then there was like 5 more pages of characters. What do you mean? That's crazy.
And that kind of makes you think that this game is going to be the complete package right from the front. It's not going to be like, oh, you get 2 more characters if you pay for Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah. I'm assuming I'm assuming the like opportunity for like more courses and stuff might be there in the future, but
Yeah,
but
I'm
yeah, no,
sure.
I do think to your point there, like the game is going to be the full package
Yeah.
upon getting it. I mean, I couldn't believe how much was there, and when you think about it, the Switch didn't have a new Mario Kart game, right? So this
Right.
thing is, how many years in waiting, so it makes sense. But holy shit, this is like the Mario Kart to end all Mario Karts.
I
It's insane.
love the I love the kind of the Forza Horizon tactic of this. Um, it took me a long time to buy into the Forza Horizon model where like it's basically free roam. It's
Hmm.
like why would I want a free roam driving game? But dude, like it's so much fun to, and I know this is going to be different in Mario, but I think in Mario you get like a little more like ridiculous exploration
Hmm.
abilities. Like in Forza Horizon, there are times where I just kind of like go into that game and I'm like, I just want to drive this car. And I'll drive it around the map and I'll be like, oh, there's a race over here. I'm gonna go do this race.
Hmm.
Like the amount of like it's kind of the same itch that Madden gives you when you just kind of want like a game that you can be brainless on, but then like can actually make some progress in.
Hmm.
Uh I feel like that's going to be how this Mario Kart is going to be. And if so, that's gonna get a lot of hours out of me. Not I mean Mario Kart tends to get a lot of hours out of me, but
Yeah, I think like I didn't put as much into Mario Kart 8 as I felt like Double Dash, for example. Like it
yeah.
just didn't like feel the same for me. But yeah, like you give me like a ton of unlockables and stuff like that. You give me something to like work towards, and like I'm all for it. So I'm hoping for big things for this. But yeah, the game looks and like looks like visually, like it looks so good. Like
Mhm.
the character animations and stuff like that looks so nice and clean. And yeah, dude, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the full blown direct that they do for it, to see like what else could they possibly. I said to you at the beginning before we started, it's like you can't convince me anymore to buy this game, but like I'm so intrigued by like what else do you have to show me? Like
Yeah.
like what else could you possibly be holding on to at this point? This whole like rail riding
I
system and like building a boost through it, and you can then like wall ride and like all this stuff. Like you're gonna get people doing insane shit, and then there's 24 racers, so that's just gonna add to the chaos of it.
I
Can't wait.
have one very out there prediction.
Let's hear it.
I think they're going to add like a double dash mode, but only for online play and only like locally. I know that was kind of contradicting, but like let's say that uh me, Justine, you and Shelby wanted to play Mario Kart together.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to add some sort of mode where like Justine and I playing on the same console are kind of in a double dash mode, and then you and Shelby playing on the
Ooh.
same console are also in a double dash mode. And then, I don't know if it's like that becomes like a Grand Prix or if they do kind of like a make sort of some sort of like battle royale. Um,
Ooh. That could be
but I think
cool.
that'd be kind of a cool mixture of couch co-op and online co-op.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just an out there prediction.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped for it. Regardless. Um. Definitely would
The other thing I
recommend.
hope they sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I would definitely recommend going in like seeing how like the whole Grand Prix like works. Because like all the races are they like set it up so that it feels like the world is truly like connected. So you like the first race is on like a track, and then the second race is actually getting to like the next track. And so it's like one of those like checkpoint races where it's like it's not just like laps, it's you know what I mean by a checkpoint race.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like the next one's kind of more of like a an actual track, or it might be another checkpoint, I can't remember, but it's so neat how it just all feels like Like it starts to feel like a lived-in true world. It's crazy how they've done it.
You've really got to play Forza Horizon.
Yeah, I do.
It's
I love the crew, which I know is kind of like that, right? Where it's like
yeah.
you're in the open world and stuff. I'm sure Forza does it, 10 times better. But I loved the crew, and I love that feeling. And so yeah, that very
I have
excited.
um one more thing I hope they steal from Forza Horizon, and this would just be funny. I don't think they'll actually do this. But in Forza Horizon, there are these things called barn finds.
Uh huh.
And basically on the map, there's just this big general area where you can like search it and find a barn, and inside the barn there's like an old beaten down car that
Yeah.
after some time gets refurbished for you.
Yep.
I hope they do that in Mario Kart and they add like carts from Double Dash.
Yeah. I mean, I hope they. Yeah, I hope they have like little collectibles and stuff like that around the map. Absolutely,
I think that'd be fun.
that would be sick. And it gives you
I'm
like
very
more
excited for this
reason.
game.
Gives you more reason to like go into free roam and actually explore around and try and find like these like little secrets and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, yeah,
And it's such a good launch game. Like we don't really
yeah.
like it, you can just you can get, I know people are worried about the price, but you can get, the Switch and this game and then, wait. You don't have to get a whole catalog, and I think you can put so much time into Mario Kart.
Mm-hmm. And if you have the online, you have access to a bunch of like Nintendo, SNES, GameCube
Right.
games. Like, yeah,
I
pop
mean, the
off.
GameCube, I genuinely think I'm just going to get the bundle
Yeah,
and then a GameCube controller
yeah.
and then probably Metroid when it comes out. But other than that,
Yeah, I literally think that's my plan as well. Except in replace Metroid with Legends,
yeah,
and yeah, and I'm off. This thing is net positive. I've made money
sounds
off of this at that point.
yeah.
Like it's a steal. Now I'll be $700 in the hole, but still.
Well, if you put 700 hours in,
Oh,
once you cross the 701, you're making money, baby.
and honestly, I've already put over 100 hours into MLB The Show, so I'm just using I'm using my net profit there, right? And
Right,
I'm just
right.
putting that into this new investment. Yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, at this point, gaming is free for us.
Yeah,
So
it's been free. It's yeah, and forever will be free. So
yeah, yep.
yeah, so if you're not on our
That's gamer
level,
math.
just stop being broke.
Yep.
Gamer math. It's just it's stealing girl math.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Anything else you wanted to touch on regarding the Switch 2 and
I
and everything with them?
I have one more media gripe.
Please.
I saw an outlet. I think it was The Verge. Uh, and they said the title of the article was "You're going to have to pay to use Nintendo Switch's C button."
Oh my
And
god.
I hate the fucking phrasing. Like, yes, of course you're going to have to because you need to have a Nintendo Switch Online account to use it. But you're not going to get charged for pushing the fucking button.
Oh my god.
Stop phrasing stuff like this. I understand it's clickbait and it gets you your ad revenue. But oh my god.
But hey, you're talking about it, aren't you?
I'm talking about it. And then I also saw somebody, and I don't remember which outlet this was, that said people are mad about the Switch's $500 price point, but it costs $700 to play the PlayStation Portal. It's like, it's not comparable. It's not. We're not going, in a year, we're not going to be comparing PlayStation Portal sales to Switch 2
You
sales.
won't be, but I will. Let me just write myself a reminder so that way we can both be confused in a year. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because there's actual things to like hone in on, right? And they're choosing
I just don't get like why that was the article. There's so much other outrage about, well, outrage and confusion about the Switch 2 pricing, and you want to say like the C button though.
They're gonna
We
if
we
if
gotta
you
talk about this
if
one.
you accidentally press the C button, they're gonna come into your house and they're gonna stab you. No, you have to pay for that up front. Then they'll come to your house and stab you. God, these people. That's it's objectively, it's very funny. It's very funny to say that if you press the C button, you're gonna have to pay for it. But it's also,
Yes, but also no.
it's very aggravating, and your outrage is wholly justified. Yeah, what a time.
All right, that's the Switch 2. We'll have more outrage next week.
You better believe it, buddy. Yeah, that does it for this week. I forget when the actual Mario Kart Direct is, so I don't know if we'll have that. I don't know if we'll have more to talk about there next week or the following week, but stay tuned for that as we get an extended look there. But I would expect that, yeah, the Switch 2 content will probably be, the podcast will probably be very heavily focused on Switch 2 for the next couple of months, certainly. But as always, thank you all so much for listening. Appreciate it. If you could leave us a rating or review wherever you listen to the podcast, that would be appreciated. And, let us know your thoughts on the whole pricing of, the Switch, the games. Let us know your thoughts on where you think things are, maybe headed. And if you could share the podcast with a friend, that'd be appreciated. Landscaping is outside my window. And we'll talk to you next week.